So there is a question. Reference verse number 23, chapter 8. The question is Krama Mukti and Kaivalya Mukti both are founded on selfless action. Karma or selfless actions are actions performed without desires. Why then Krama Mukti produces blemish of desire, whereas Kaivalya Mukti does not produce blemish of desire? This is the question. Verse number 23, chapter 8. I'm reading the question again. Krama Mukti and Kaivalya Mukti both are founded on selfless action. Karma or selfless actions are actions performed without desires. Why then Krama Mukti produces blemish of desire, whereas Kaivalya Mukti does not produce blemish of desire? A.V. Narayan, the question. Two types of liberation, Krama Mukti and Kaivalya Mukti. Krama means stages, Kaivalya means direct now. These are the two types of liberation that Vedanta talks about. One is liberation now, direct. Another is liberation in stages. 8th chapter, as we saw, specifically talks about Krama Mukti, whereas the whole Gita talks about Kaivalya Mukti, where you can attain liberation now. The vision of Vedanta is not Krama Mukti. The vision of Vedanta is Kaivalya Mukti, liberation now. Having said this as the vision of Vedanta, in chapter 8, Krishna spoke about Krama Mukti. In fact, the whole chapter is dedicated to that Krama Mukti only, liberation in sequence. Now, what is this liberation in sequence? First statement in the question, Krama Mukti and Kaivalya Mukti both are founded on selfless action. In Krama Mukti, a mixture of unselfish action and selfless actions happens. In Kaivalya Mukti, only selfless action happens. That is where the difference is. In Krama Mukti, the statement says, question says, Krama Mukti and Kaivalya Mukti both are founded on selfless action. Now, both are founded on selfless action. The mistake in Krama Mukti is at times unselfish actions comes and takes over. For that unselfish actions that the person has done, he has to experience the consequence. That consequence is Brahmaloka, whatever be it. Freedom from karma comes when kartrutva goes out. This is the law. As long as kartrutva is there, you will be bound by the consequences of the action. Sannyas or renunciation is the starting point of freedom from the law. That is why we say move into selfless action. Why we move into selfless action? Because in selfless action there is no kartrutva. Where there is no kartrutva, there is freedom from the consequence. So in Kaivalya Mukti, the person does only selfless actions, thereby that action doesn't produce any consequence. Are you able to follow? In unselfish action, there is a consequence. In unselfish action, there is a consequence. Why there is consequence in unselfish action? Because in unselfish action, kartrutva is there. I am the doer is there in unselfish action. In selfless action, the notion of I am the doer isn't there. Since there is this notion of I am the doer, doing good actions, that person has to enjoy the benefits of that good actions. That is called Krama Mukti. Why? Because karmas has to be exhausted. Punya karma also has to be exhausted. You can't carry forward karma into post moksha. Post moksha, there is no. So all karmas has to be exhausted before moksha. Therefore, what does the seeker do in Krama Mukti? Every now and then the person slips into an unselfish action. For that unselfish action, that person has to experience Krama Mukti. In Kaivalya Mukti, direct liberation, the person is very conscious, very alert, not to fall into this unselfish actions. It is very difficult to comprehend what is the difficulty in not slipping into unselfishness. Because we are sitting and theorizing here, it looks very easy. Not to fall for unselfishness is not easy, because the very growth brings about a sensitivity. The very growth brings about the earnestness in wanting to help the other. That is the very growth itself. What is growth? Okay, what is selfishness? You are sensitive only to your pain. That's all selfishness is. You are sensitive only to your pain, and whatsoever relieves you of your pain, you will go to that. As soon as your pain is relieved, what happens? You forget it. This is called selfishness. What is unselfishness? Unselfishness is you are so sensitive to the pain of the other, and when you see the pain, there is a natural tendency to wanting to help, and extraordinary powerful intellect is required to curb that. We don't understand that because we have not come to that stage yet. We don't understand that. Why we don't understand that? We think it's so easy. What is the problem? Go to selflessness, Kaivalya Mukti. Why get into all this Krama Mukti and all that? It's so easy for us because we are only theorizing here. We are not really doing, we are not actually doing anything about it. When you actually start doing something about it, what happens? The very unselfishness is difficult to cross over. Why? Because you see the pain and you want to do something to help the other. At that point of time, you see the pain. You can help, you have the resources to help, you know the technique to help, and still you say, I should not get involved in this. That is extremely difficult. A sadhak, a selfless person, a person of Kaivalya Mukti will be able to do that. Invariably, what happens? The seeker, they will slip into this selfishness. Unselfishness. That unselfishness leads them to some punya, and that punya takes them to Krama Mukti. Is it okay? The difference? Very difficult to hold yourself when you feel the pain. You know the technique to help. You have the resources to help, and yet you close your eyes, as it were. Isn't it? You close your eyes, as it were. That is not that easy. So what happens? The person makes this, the person falls into doing this help. And this help is Krama Mukti. Because they have to exhaust that karma, and that karma gets exhausted, Brahmaloka. We are not getting into the Brahmaloka discussion. Is it okay?
I'm okay.
Yeah.
this only further gives the next question for reflection, saying how to know whether you are you are getting insensitive not to help.
Yes.
So that will be a topic for reflection, which I will do and then see whether I'm getting an answer to it.
Yes.
I don't want to ask that question now.
But he's answering it now in 22.
Oh.
Verse number 22, we are going to read. He's going to discuss that. Are you able to follow? So, unselfishness and selflessness. What is the difference? In selflessness, your intention is not to relieve the pain of another. In unselfishness, you have an intention of wanting to help the other. In selflessness, your intention is not of helping the other. Fundamental difference between unselfishness and selflessness. In unselfishness, you have the intention to help the other. In selflessness, you only do that which you ought to do. You only do that which you ought to do. That is the difference. Is it okay?
Okay.
Yeah. Now, (20, 21) and all these verses spoke about the devotees who are using God as the means, but the end is different. 20 and 21 spoke about the bhaktas, the devotees who use God as the means, but not the end. If you study your mind, the very study of the mind will reveal one thing to you. Ultimately, the very study of the mind reveals one thing. What does the mind reveals? You are always obsessed with the end alone. Your mind is never obsessed with the means. All study of the mind should give you this clarity. What is it? You are never obsessed with the means. It is always the end that matters. And for that end, whatever means you want to adopt, you will adopt. It means the focus is always on the end and never the means. If God is the end, means becomes different. If end is something else, God becomes the means. Are you able to understand the difference? Again, I repeat. If God becomes the end, the means are different. If the end is different, God becomes the means. The end occupies the mind so much that it displaces all other thoughts. This is what you understand if you study the human mind. What you should understand, the end occupies the mind so much that it displaces every other thought is displaced. This is how the mind works. Let us say you want to travel to Mumbai from Chennai. The Mumbai is the end. You may take a bus, you may take the train, you may take the flight, you may drive down by yourself. You will plan so many things on the way. The journey you plan for, isn't it? Suppose if you are going by train for 1.5 days, you will plan the breakfast, lunch, and dinner also, and carry it in the. All the things are meaningful. Everything that you do is meaningful to you only because the end is meaningful. in the case of the 20 and 21, what is their end? Worldly benefits is their end. For that worldly benefit, they use God. And once the worldly benefit is achieved, what happens? Once you reach Mumbai, you will not stay put in the station. No, you will quickly want to get out of the station, isn't it? Once the end is achieved, the means no more has any meaning. For you will not stay put in the railway station thanking the train and staying there for half a day in the station because the train brought you. You won't do that. Why? Because what matters is the end and never the means. This understanding has to be very clear. If wealth is the end, there are very many ways to attain wealth. We saw that already. Artha Bhakta, Arthi, Jignasu, Jnani, etc. If wealth is the end, there are very many means to get to that end. If peace of mind is the end, there are very many ways to get the peace. If not knowing is disturbing you, there are very many ways to know it. So here, the end is very clear. So any means that you adopt will take you there. So what people do here, they adopt God as the means. God becomes the means. Why God becomes the means? Because somewhere they have learned that God is slightly more reliable than the rest. Somewhere they learned what? God is more reliable. Since God is more reliable, because in the world, you can't rely on anybody, no? Isn't it? World and the world laugh and the world laughs with you. Cry, you will cry alone, correct? Laugh and the world laughs with you. Cry, you cry alone. This is the reality of life. What is the reality of life? We understand that the moment you are in trouble, everybody will run away. The moment there is no trouble, everybody will accompany. Correct? So somebody told you what? God is, nobody in the world is reliable. God is reliable. For what? God is reliable for what? Wealth, peace of mind, etc. Are you able to follow? These people rely on God for these things. Are you okay till now? Now comes the problem of these devotees. The problem of these devotees is somebody says God is reliable, but your mind says, what is the proof that God is reliable? So the bhakti there is not very strong. It doesn't have that shraddha. Are you able to follow? World is not reliable. Somebody says God is reliable, and God is reliable also is not, doesn't seem to happen. Why? Because 10 years, the son is not getting married, God is not doing anything about it, isn't it? 10 years, horoscope to horoscope, you are going, matrimony to matrimony, you are registering. God is not doing anything about it. Therefore, God also seems to be not God also seems to be not reliable. So what happens here? They don't get the real benefit of bhakti. They don't get the real benefit of bhakti. That is 20 and 21. Now 22 that we are going to read is a very important verse. 22 that we are going to read is very important verse. In contrast to these people. In contrast to these people. So what do you understand from this? If you study the mind, you understand very clearly what? I'm repeating again. You are never bothered about the means. It is the end that matters. Take it or leave it. You may agree, you may not agree. You may say, no, sir, we are not like that. Maybe you are like that, but we are not like that. The truth is what? The end is what matters, never the means. Second, once the end is achieved, the means becomes no longer meaningful. That's why you easily discard and you go, which is what Yajnavalkya taught Maitreyi. The wife is not dear for the sake of the wife, but for the wife is the means to an end. Wife is not the end. Husband is not the end. The husband is the means to an end. The husband is not the means. The husband is never the end. Children is not the end. Children is the means to an end. Are you able to follow? It means everything becomes the means to an end. Similarly, what is the end? Don't use God as the means to get to that end. Are you able to follow? Up to this we have studied. We have a clarification and then we'll move on to 22. Yes. Yes. Yeah. The question is, as you are talking, as we are sitting in the class, it looks very clear and understandable. But it's not. But the transformation has not yet happened, correct? Always remember this. Is the question correct? Yeah. How do I know whether I have understood it or not? Only when the transformation happens. What is the question? The question is, in the class, it looks very clear. On our notes, clear, isn't it? It is like a guide class. It will look very, very clear only. And how do I know whether it is? How do I know whether I have understood? Correct? The proof of understanding is understanding itself. There is no other proof for understanding. Are you able to follow? That is the ideal. Having woken up, you know that you have woken up. There is no proof for. How do I know that I have woken up? There is no proof for that. Are you okay? This is answering at a higher level. And this answer doesn't help at all. So come down to the junior level. You should not say lower level. When you say lower level means junior level. Please understand. Lower, not inferior. Junior. Clear? You can't say 10th class is inferior. No. You can't say 10th class is inferior. Junior. So at the senior level, this is one answer. At the junior level, there are indications of understanding. What are the indications of understanding? A few indications are there. The few indicators. The first indicator that your understanding is happening rightly. The first indicator, freedom from the five. Krodha, Lobha, Mada, Matsarya, Bhaya. The first indicator that your understanding is happening is freedom from the five. Anger, greed, jealousy, arrogance, fear. Correct? Freedom from the five. Second indicator. Understanding is happening is eighteenth chapter is going to say that Yajna Dana Tapas. Understanding is happening means tapas becomes more predominant in your life. Yajna, Dana, Tapas. Yajna means sacrificial actions. We saw that already. Yajna means. Dana means charitable charity. What is tapas? Tapas is whenever the mind slips into the raga dvesha and say, I will not do my duty. Bring the mind from raga dvesha to doing the duty is called tapas. Again, I repeat, tapas means what? Tapas doesn't mean standing on one leg. Movie lana abdhan kaatuvaanga, isn't it? Tapas means what? Your mind slips into raga dvesha and says, I will not do. It sits stubbornly. It sits stubborn without unyielding, not moving. What is tapas? That stubborn mind, you keep it aside and you forcefully do what you ought to do. More tapas you are doing means more understanding you have developed. Are you able to follow? Some indicators are there, whether the understanding is happening or not. Again, I repeat, what are the indicators? Freedom from the five. Second indicator is
Tapas is predominant.
Yajna Dana, tapas. The third indicator, mumukshatva, you can see a distinct increase in your mumukshatva. These are the indicators. Are you able to follow? The third indicator is mumukshatva. Mumukshatva means that you know that you are chained and that you are chained is so irritating. Yeah. Now we don't even notice the chain. We don't even recognize the chain. We don't even understand that there is the chain. Invisible chain. If it is a visible chain, we understand. It is invisible. Invisible where the chain that ties you to something outside is visible. Yeah, here the chain is invisible because it is in your, it's the mind. That mental bondage. So what is the third indication? Mumukshatva increases. So how do you know whether your understanding is happening rightly or not? Remember these indicators. Freedom from Krodha, Lobha, Mada, Matsarya, Bhaya. Freedom from the five. Second is Yajna Dana Tapas. Yajna means idam na mama. Dhanam is a charitable disposition followed by acts of charity. Actually, if you have charitable disposition, it will actually result in action. You will not say, I have charitable disposition, but I cannot give. It will never happen like that. So charitable disposition will automatically follow in acts of charity. Okay. See, why charitable disposition? Why acts of charity is very painful? What will happen to me? First, I have to preserve something for myself. I have to safeguard my interest, and then whatever is left, that I will give. That point never comes. Therefore, what do? You do dhanam. Indication. And when you do it, you are so blissful, you are so joyful. Why? Because you have to trim your things. If you have to do dhanam, you have to trim something of yours, you have to trim, and then only you can give. That trimming is unpleasant. If understanding is happening rightly, means you can trim and you can give. The third is tapas. What does tapas means? The mind sits stubbornly, refusing to move, refusing to yield, isn't it? Tapas means you move and do that which you ought to do. You have a things that you ought to do. How much ever painful it is, how much ever disturbing it is, what do? You do it. When you do all these, looks like self-inflicting pain, no? Looks like it is inflicting pain on yourself. Yes, it is inflicting pain. Take it. That's it. It is inflicting pain on yourself. Why? All along, because of fearing this pain, you have been pampering yourself so much. Fearing this pain, you have been pampering yourself so much, and this pampering is what has brought about this destruction. Now, what you got to do? You got to stop this pampering, and when you stop this pampering, it will be painful. What do? If the end is very clear, connect to what I said in the beginning. If the end is very clear, the means will not become a problem. What is the end? The end of growth. The end of growth is very clear. All this will not be a problem. If growth is not the end, then all this will become a problem. Are you okay? So how do you understand? Your understanding is, how do you know whether your understanding is proper or not? At the advanced level, the answer is what? You know it, full stop. Having woken up, you know that you have woken up. But this answer will not actually help at the junior level. So at the beginners, at the initial level, what do you understand? If you have these three, you understand that your understanding is going in the right direction. You follow? Freedom from the five is what we call as peaceful. Freedom in the Atma Bodha, he will not say freedom from the five. He will say Shantanam. That person will be in Shanti. Shantanam, Vidaraginam, Mumukshunam Apekshoyam, Atma Bodho Vidiyate. Isn't it? Atma Bodha, first verse, correct? There he used Shantanam. That person will, what is Shanti means? Freedom from the five. One active voice, passive voice, Madhuriyadu. You will be peaceful is one way of saying it. Freedom from the five is another way of saying it. But both will end up in, both are saying the same thing in two different angles. But freedom from the five will be more clearer than saying you will be peaceful. Is it okay? There, yeah. This is how everybody can understand whether their understanding is happening in the right direction or not. Lastly, it becomes part of your personality so much that you can never ever forget it. Once you learn all these, you can never ever forget. It will continue and take you to the ultimate. You can never ever lose it. That's what in the 8th chapter he said very clearly. I start all this. Or motivational lecture கேட்டுட்டு I start doing freedom from the 5 I want, yajnadana tapas I am doing, adalla I am starting to do. Halfway through, if I die, what will happen? Again, I have to restart all over. No. Since the change has happened at the core, that core will remain the same. It means you can never ever lose it. This is understanding. Understanding means you can never ever lose it. Rest of it can be lost. Are you able to follow? Rest of it can be lost. But this cannot be lost. Okay. We will read verse number 22.
Ananyaschintayanto ma ye jana patyupasate tesham nityabhiyuktanam yogakshemam vahamyaham. Ananyaschintayanto ma ye jana patyupasate tesham nityabhiyuktanam yogakshemam vahamyaham.
To those persons who worship me, thinking of nothing else, to those ever seeking union, I grant them yoga, union, and kshema, supreme bliss. To those persons who worship me, thinking of nothing else, to those ever seeking union, I grant them yoga and kshema. Yoga is union, kshema is supreme bliss. A very famous oft-quoted verse from Bhagavad Gita. This verse is chanted at the end of Sahasranama also. When you do the Vishnu Sahasranama, at the end of the Vishnu Sahasranama, this verse gets chanted. Ananya Chintayanto Maham Yajana Paripasate Tesham Nityabhiyuktanam Yogakshemam Vahamyaham. Yogakshemam Vahamyaham, LIC agent, Madrid, isn't it? Because Life Insurance Corporation, all Indians will know LIC. What is LIC? I am saying for the sake of Reza, I am saying what is LIC? Life Insurance Corporation. So this Life Insurance Corporation here has in their logo, you find this Yoga Kshemam Vahamyaham. I give you yoga, I give you kshema. Try it out. எடுத்து பாருங்க, எல்ஐசி பாலிசி எடுத்து பார்த்தா கூட அதுல இருக்கும். You see that logo, it will be there. Yoga Kshemam Vahamyaham. I grant you yoga and I grant you kshema. Yoga I'll give you, kshema I'll give you. Adukosam we have to buy LIC policy. I'm not selling her, please. I don't have any connection with that. Just for that word they put Yoga Kshema Vahamyaham. I give you yoga and I give you kshema. Very extraordinary, oft-quoted, famous verse. Ananyaha, contrasting to the previous. These people here are distinct and different from the earlier verses that we spoke about. Who are they? To those persons who worship of me, thinking of nothing else. Thinking of nothing else means the end is very clear in and through whatever they do. The end is very clear in and through whatever they do. Are you able to follow? Again, take another example. You are building a house. The contractor is there. The structural engineer is there, the civil engineer is there, the steel is there, the cement is there, the sand is there. All you pay attention to very carefully. You pay careful attention to everything, you take care of everything. In and through all that you are doing, where is your mind? In the house. All this is meaningful only because of the house. This is called thinking about me constantly. Ananya Chinta. Anya Chinta, other thinking. Ananya Chinta, no other thinking. No other thinking means the end is never forgotten. That is very clear. The end is never forgotten. In the case of the people, generally what do they do? The mind is never absorbed in that. The mind keeps wavering. Why the mind keeps wavering? Because the other goals distracts. The other goals distract. What are the other goals? What are the other goals that distract? The other goals that distract you is yoga and kshema. The goals that distract you from remembering God is what? Yoga and kshema makes you forget God. Now what is he saying here? What is he saying here? I am going to take care of that. I will take care of that. When he says, I will take care of that, what you got to do? Ananya Chinta. Are you able to follow? I will take care of yoga and I will take care of kshema. Why are you running behind that? Leave that job to me. I will take care. You do your work, I do my work. What is my work? Giving you yoga kshema is my work. What is your work? What is your work? Remembering me, doing everything. Remembering me, that which you ought to do, you do that. Yoga and kshema, I will give you yoga, I will give you kshema. What are you running behind? Why are you not thinking about me? You follow? Okay, to put it in a very simple way, because of insecurity, we worry about yoga and kshema. What is yoga? What is kshema? We are going to see. There are different levels of understanding the word yoga and kshema itself. At the junior level of understanding, at the advanced level another understanding, at the level of moksha, it is different. So that we will see. Before we get into that, what is the promise? He is giving you a promise. There. RBI Governor Madri, he is giving a promise, isn't it? You have the rupee note, the governor promises, no? Have you read that rupee note? What is in that rupee note? Where are we having time, sir? Isn't it? I promise to pay the bearer. I promise na enartham. It will, I promise naka, the possibility of him not honoring the promise, is it there? When he says, I promise, what does it mean? It is given. Don't worry. Are you able to follow? Ordinary Reserve Bank of India governor, we trust, isn't it? He's saying, that's what he said. RBI governor, you trust, and you want to take an appointment to go and meet the RBI governor, but you don't want to think. You don't want to think about me. Ananya Chinta. So he is giving you a promise. He is giving you a promise. How do you validate the promise? How do you understand that promise is a valid promise. How do you understand that? I am the creator. He's saying that. I am the creator. And there is the law that is there. And as long as you are obeying the law, yoga and kshema is promised, will come to you. Where is the problem? Are you able to follow? From the rational angle, this is how we understand. We can understand it from the intellectual angle. We can understand it from the devotional angle. Both angles. And you combine both. From the intellectual angle, how do you understand it? Yoga and kshema, you need not bother about it at all. Why you need not bother about yoga and kshema? Yoga and kshema is the effect, never the cause. You stick to the law, you obey the law, the very obeying the law, the very sticking to the law automatically will give you yoga and kshema. And what is he saying here? As long as you are sticking to that, yoga and kshema is promised. Why are you bothered? That is one way of looking at it. Another way of looking at it is what? You consider God as supreme to you, powerful than you, more smarter than you, more intelligent than you. If you think God is more smarter than you, if you think God is more intelligent than you, what do you understand? What do you understand? God knows what to give you, or whatever is given to you is yoga and kshema. Therefore, there is no complaint. Therefore, there is no complaint, there is no worry, there is no anxiety. Why? Because you understand what? Wiser than you. Correct? God is wiser than you, and God is interested in your welfare. So, a wiser person who is interested in your welfare, whatever comes to you is yoga and kshema. But sir, lot of miseries only are coming. Sorrow and suffering is only coming. That is also yoga and kshema for you. Why? Because only that is going to wake you up. So in that way, sorrow also becomes kshema, yoga and kshema. So what is the promise here? The promise. What is the promise? The foolishness of life is one beggar is dependent on another beggar. That is the foolishness of life. One beggar is dependent on another beggar. And it looks very comfortable also, isn't it? Why? Because one beggar can easily relate to another beggar, correct? Beggar plus beggar equals security. Yeah? Insecurity plus insecurity equals insecurity plus insecurity equals security, sir. This is how poor we are in mathematics. Yeah. This is how we are so poor in mathematics. Insecurity plus insecurity equals insecurity square, isn't it? So one insecure person is dependent on another insecure person. Are you able to understand? Normally, all human beings are insecure. Relatively, a spiritual seeker is not. A spiritual seeker doesn't feel insecure. A spiritual seeker, technically called a sannyasi, a bhakta, sannyasi, all we are using synonymously here. A bhakta, sannyasi, all means one and the same. A spiritual seeker, a bhakta, a sannyasi should be feeling insecure. But he is the one who's feeling, that person is the one who's feeling supremely secure, and all others are feeling insecure. Why? Wealth, you feel insecure, and you believe wealth will give you security. Correct? Okay. And wealth comes. Along with wealth, what comes? More insecurity. How do you say that? How do you say that? Acquiring is more problem. Now, preserving it is talavali, sir. Maintaining that is a bigger problem. Why do you want a huge thing to maintain? Here he says, when you depend on me, that's a promise he's giving. When you depend on me, you will feel secure. Why? How does that work? When one beggar is dependent on another beggar, there will be insecurity only. Here he says, you depend on me. What is depending on me means? Me, you can take it as God, or me, you can take it as law. Doesn't matter. Anyway, you can take it. You can take it as God, or you can take it as a law. Both, the very dependence on both, the very obedience to both brings about a security. Are you able to follow? Yoga and Kshema is to get rid of the insecurity of the mind. Ultimately speaking, Yoga and Kshema is for what? Is to get rid of the insecurity. And every person has this. Every person has a sense of insecurity. Two insecure members can never give mutual security. Again, I repeat. Two insecure members can never give mutual security. That is why constantly we keep asking, what? Will you be there for you when I need you? Will you be there for you? Sir, one thing I understood about life, sir. Sir. Nobody will be there. We have to, all that comes from where? Because one insecure is depending on another insecure. So insecure plus insecure becomes insecurity only. Therefore, where you should derive your security from? You should derive your security from an entity that doesn't feel insecure. Where you should derive security from? You should derive security from an entity that doesn't feel insecure. And who is that? Who is that doesn't feel insecure at all? Krishna says, it's me. Krishna says, it's me. And also, he is giving you a guarantee card. What is a guarantee card? Warranty period, expiry period, 6 months, 6 years, 60 years, 600 years. The warranty that he is giving is a permanent warranty, an eternal warranty. Yoga Kshemam Ahamyaham. Aham Vahami. Aham Vahami means I will give you. You trust me, you will be safe. But we are all trusting God, sir. Where are we safe? You are not trusting. That's why. You are using God as a means. Avladha. That's why there's no safety. The moment you start using God as a means, there will never be any safety. Are you okay till now? Now we will come to these two beautiful words, yoga and kshema. What is yoga means and what is kshema? Kshema means. What is yoga and what is kshema? Yoga generally has very many meanings. Yoga in general context has very many meanings. Whenever the word yoga comes along with kshema, the word yoga there has a specific meaning. That's how you interpret. Whenever we use the word yoga, we use the word yoga in the sense of union, isn't it? We use the word yoga in the sense of union. And when yoga comes with the word kshema, that word yoga has a different meaning. So what is the different meaning of the word yoga? Yoga means granting of that which you do not possess. Yoga means granting you that which you don't possess. Kshema means preserving what you have, acquired. So acquisition and preservation, isn't it? Yoga means acquiring of whatever is required. Whatever you think is required, you acquire. That is yoga. But, but is acquisition alone enough? Is acquisition alone enough? No. Second thing is what? One is acquiring, another is preserving what you have acquired. That's why when we bless, Kshemama Arumbo, they say. Yeah, what does Kshema means? All that you have acquired and preserved, may it not leave you. Appa, what a blessing it is. Otherwise, it is going to, it is leaving. Kshema means blessing. What is a blessing? What you have acquired, it will not leave you. So what is the worry of a human being now? At one level, not having is the worry. At one level, not having is the worry. Since you believe you don't have, you have to make an effort to acquire. Having gotten it, what is the next worry? Having gotten it, what is the next worry? Preserving it, isn't it? Preserving it is the worry. The entire lifetime is spent on this acquisition and preservation. Acquisition and preservation for what? Enjoyment ultimately. You want to acquire and preserve for what? If acquisition is done, preservation has happened, you have a guarantee of happiness, enjoyment, correct? That's why you acquire, that's why you preserve. Bhajagovindam. The entire Bhajagovindam, he talks about this only, isn't it? The entire theme of Bhajagovindam is what? How it has been, how you run behind this acquisition and preservation and end up empty-handed. Again, I repeat, you run behind this acquisition, you run behind this preservation, ஒரே வாய்ஸ் பாக்ஸ்ல இருந்து 4-5 வாய்ஸ் வருது, isn't it? Yeah. One voice box is producing 4-5 different kinds of sounds. And we have to take care of that also. Whole lifetime goes in acquisition and preservation. You plan to acquire and then you plan to preserve, correct? One kind of planning is to get it. Another kind of planning is to preserve it, isn't it? Guaranteed returns should come, sir. Isn't it? Investment planning. Guaranteed returns should come. Srikanth. அது நானும் உட்கார்ந்து அட்வைஸ் கொடுக்கணும். Sir, what will give you, sir? I will also sit and pretend as though it is so secure it is. And the deepest core you understand, all is going to produce more and more insecurity. Only Dinayaminyau Shayam Pratah Sishiravashantav Punarayatah Kala Kridati Gachatyayuhu Tadapina Munchat Asha Payuhu. Bhajagovindam. Kala Kridati. Time, place, time sports. Time sports means what? Even before you realize it is, it's gone. It's over. Kala Kridati. Even then, the Asha doesn't leave. Ashaji also doesn't leave, isn't it? Yeah, that's what he's saying. Bhajagovindam, he's saying, I'm not talking about you. No, Bhajagovindam, verse number 12, he's saying. Reference also. Asha doesn't leave. 40 years, she's not leaving. We are making so much of attempts to eliminate her, but she's not our Asha, poor thing. Asha, the desire we are talking. It is not leaving. It is not leaving at all. Why? Why? Deep down, the conviction is security lies in this. That change is very difficult. To understand that they are not the source for security is very difficult. Please understand that. They are needed for transactional purposes, but they are not needed for security. The mistake that you make is you believe that it is going to give you security. Therefore, what is he saying? I will grant you yoga, I will grant you kshema. Means whatever is needed for you, I will give you. Whatever has to be preserved, I will preserve it for you. Leave that job of yoga and kshema to me. Then what do you do? Ananya Chinta. Ananya Chinta. This is one meaning of the word yoga and kshema. This is one meaning of the word yoga and kshema. The second interpretation of the word yoga and kshema is yoga can mean, in the original meaning of the word yoga, spiritual enlightenment. And kshema means materiality. Therefore, he says, if you do Ananya Chinta, I will ensure that your union is taken care of. Until you get to that union, your material needs also is taken care of. Again, are you able to follow? If you do this Ananya Chinta, yoga and kshema, I will take care. Now, what is the word yoga? How do you interpret the word yoga and kshema here? Till you get to the goal of enlightenment, certain things are whatever is needed for you will be, I will provide you with that. So I will provide you with whatever is needed for your livelihood, survival, and also I will give you yoga. Meaning enlightenment also I'll give you. So it means what you got to do? What is it that you got to do? Ananya Chinta. Ananya Chinta. Another meaning to the word yoga and kshema is also possible. The third meaning to the word yoga and kshema. Okay, first yoga and kshema, all material. Second meaning of the word yoga and kshema, spiritual and material. The third meaning of the word yoga and kshema obviously should mean all spiritual. Three interpretations. Are you able to follow? One is wholly material. Preservation, acquisition, and preservation. I will take care of that. Wholly materialistic promise. Second is material and spiritual. And okay, sir, till I get there, what will I do? Till I attain moksha, what will I do? What will I do means, who will take care of me? Who will take care of my bread and butter? Isn't it? Till I get moksha, bread and butter, he said, I will take care of that. That is the second meaning of the word yoga and kshema. Now, the third meaning of the word yoga and kshema, without any reference to materiality at all, it can be wholly understood as spiritual. Then what does yoga and kshema means? Yoga means stability in the spiritual pursuit. Kshema means guaranteeing the result. The third meaning, yoga here means stability in the spiritual practices. Kshema means result is guaranteed. That's how he's promising the result. And when he's promising the result, when he's giving you a promise, he's telling you very clearly what you should do. I will protect you, he's not saying. Carefully follow that. You live life the way you live, I will come and protect you, don't worry. He is not saying that. Remember that. If you want to be saved, if you want to feel secure, you got to do one thing. What is it that you got to do? Ananya Chintaha Ye Janaha Upasate. Varyupasate. Varyupasate means upasate, worship. Varyupasate also means the intensity of worship. Those who intensely worship. And what are they worshipping me for? What are they worshipping me for? They are not worshipping me for anything else. They are not worshipping me for what I am going to give them. They are worshipping me because they are worshipping me. Why? Why are they worshipping? They don't have anything else to do in life. They have no other priorities in life. That's what it means. Why are they worshipping? These fellows here don't have any other priority in life. Since they don't have any other priorities in life, all other priorities are understood as useless. All other priorities are understood as futile. Having understood all other priorities as futile, useless, they have come to this priority. What is a priority? Remembering me. Ananya Chinta. And what is this? Ever-seeking union. Ever-seeking union means that aikyam should happen. Ever-seeking union means even the little bit of separation is also not accepted. it is the aikyam should happen. Isn't it? Sayujya, that is nityabhiyuktana. Sayujya, you understand, no? Salokya, Sarupya, Samipya, Sayujya. Till Sayujya happens, you pathale sandoshama. Urku vandutar sir. He landed. That is happiness, but that is not complete happiness, isn't it? Boarded the Shatabdi in Bangalore, happiness, isn't it? Where are you? Katpadi, Oba. Landed in Chennai station, Salokya. Same loka you have come to, happiness. But that alone will not give happiness. Then what is it? Sarupya, you have to see it. You have to see the person, the rupa, the form. At a distance, you see the form, happiness. Then comes Samipya. Samipya means kittaka vandachu. Wow. More happiness. What is Ananya Chinta? Salokya is okay. Sarupya is okay. Samipya is okay. But Ananya Chinta will continue still. Why? Because the Sayujya should happen. Sayujya means that Aikyam. What is Sayujya Aikyam? The two should become, the two should not remain as two. The two should not remain as two. That is Nitya Viyuktanam. Tesham. Whoever wants that, that is seeking me. That is seeking me. So one people are happy going to Loka. Clear? Goloka Pona Purusar. That is one. Clear? Vaikunta Loka. That is Loka. Same. As long as we are in the same territory. No. Ananya Chinta will not be happy with it. Ananya Chinta says, Rupa, it is an advancement, but no. Ananya Chinta continues. Samipya, very close you have come. Suffocating the other. Yeah, still, no. That is also not. Ananya Chinta says, Aikyam. Aikyam means Sayujya. The two should become one. Therefore, Ananya Chintayanto ma ejana paryupasate esham nityabhiyuktana yoga kshemam vahamyaham. I grant them. Vahami. Vahami means I give. I convey. I give. Assurance. Whoever understood this assurance, whoever learnt this Ananya Chinta practice, they get this yoga and kshema. So yoga and kshema at a material level, yoga and kshema combination looks better, no? Material is also taken care of, spiritual is also taken care of, sir. Better, second interpretation, isn't it? Ananya Chinta says that is also not interested. Why? Ananya Chinta is really interested in yoga and kshema at the third level. What is the third level? It is stability in the spiritual path, being firmly established in the spiritual path, leading to the ultimate state of self-realization. Cause and effect. I will grant you. Effect is granted. Effect is guaranteed. To put it in one word, the effect is guaranteed if the cause is attended to properly. What is the cause? Ananya Chinta. Ananya Chinta means what? Constant thinking. Constant thinking means what? No other priority in life. Ananya Chinta means no other priority in life. Or whatever priorities you have, all are aligned to that. Just as you build a house, you take care of so many things. But ultimately, your ultimate focus is on what? The ultimate focus is on the house, isn't it? The end. So priorities, Ananya Chinta means you are very clear about the priority in life, the end, and you are constantly thinking about it. Constantly thinking about it implies you are doing the necessary action. Thinking implies the necessary action. If you do all these, guarantee is given. What is the guarantee? I will give you yoga and kshema. Very beautiful verse, very important verse. What he calls as virtually the geometric center of Bhagavad Gita. And one of the most celebrated verses of the Bhagavad Gita where God promises what? You will become one with me. You and me will become one. That promise, that assurance is given. You and me will become one. Anybody else gives this assurance, don't believe in it. Why? Because insecurity plus insecurity equals insecurity plus one insecure person giving guarantee to another insecure person. Yeah. One fellow who's bondy is giving another person security. What difference? Both are, it is going to become, the venture itself is, the end result of the venture is very clear. What? Destruction. Here he says the end result is very clear. What is that? Yoga and kshema will come to you. Very celebrated. With this, we conclude for today and we continue next week.
There is a question posted by Mala.
One second. We'll finish her off. Finish her off na, badal sonna. Mala Venkatesan. General question. Okay. What is the general question? Solar eclipse on Tuesday. Abdiya. Okay. Lot of diet restriction is advised. I don't know about that. We are not supposed to relieve our natural urges to, oh my God, too much this is. The eclipse duration is said to increase our punya if we do japa, dana, any form of prayer, meditation. Could you explain the purpose behind all these? Ananya Sintayanto Mam Ejana Paryupasate Desham Nityabhiyuktanam Yoga Kshemam Vahamiham, whether it is eclipse or no eclipse. Mala. These are all certain practices given to a certain set of people at one point of time. Understand it like that. It's not a universal practice. A set of practices given to a set of people with a set of intelligence at one point of time. Understand it like that. It should not be taken as a universal principle. You follow? This is how it out. Once you understand it in this manner, you will not become superstitious about all this. That which is applicable for a specific set of people at a specific period of time, if you take it out of that context, that is called superstition. That which is applicable for a set of people at a period of time with a level of maturity. Are you able to follow? Shastra advises, gives practices for different levels of people because there are different levels of maturity. Different levels of maturity is there, different levels of adhikaritvam is there. Because of the different levels of maturity and the different levels of adhikaritvam, one set of practice is given to one, and that one set of practice given to one is not applicable to the next set. You follow what I'm saying? Is the principle clear? Is the principle clear? Now, to whom all this is given? A set of human beings, even today, that set of human beings can be there with no mind, no intellect functioning at all. They got to be given very weird, strict physical practices. Are you able to follow? When no mind is functioning, no intellect is functioning, in a state of, in a vegetative state, in a vegetable state, if human being is living, you got to wake that fellow up. How do you wake that fellow up? Give them practices which is very extreme by nature. What is extreme practices by nature? During the eclipse time. During the eclipse time means 3 hours before, 3 hours later. Huh? See, previously, Mala, at one point of time, you should not eat 3 days before eclipse starts. From 3 days, today it has become 12 hours. Huh? Today it has become 12 hours, no? Huh? Depending upon what you believe in. One fellow will say 24, one fellow will say 12, one fellow will say 3. I will say, whatever you feel like doing, you will do, I will say. Yeah, we are not going to get into what you should do. Are you able to follow? Mala. At one point of time, it was told you should not eat for 3 days of upavasa. If you are doing 3 days of upavasa, what will happen? You will die, isn't it? Your blood pressure will go down. I don't know what will go down, what will go up. But one thing is very clear. What? You will not come out alive. From 3 days, who changed it to 12 hours? Who does all these things? You follow what I'm saying? All this is given as a specific set of practice for a specific period of time. Not knowing the context, we misunderstand this to be religion and take it out of context and stick to these practices. And these practices becomes a superstition. Therefore, what is the purpose behind all this? The purpose behind all this is what? Every day you should remember God, correct? Mala. Okay, what is the ideal state? What is the ideal life? Ananya Sintayanto Mam is the ideal life. Now, how close you are or how far you are to Ananya Chinta? Practices will differ. Are you able to follow? If you are very close to Ananya Chinta, practices differ. If you are very far away from Ananya Chinta, where you don't think about God at all, for anything you don't think about God, what you got to do there? Give them some practices and tempt them. What is the temptation? Normal days you do japa, you get 100 times benefit. On Grahana time you do japa, you will get 100 crores time benefit. What a technique it is to tempt the person into what? What is the purpose now? Remember. Remember. If you are remembering, eclipse time and all doesn't make any difference. If you are not remembering, at least now sit and remember. Are you okay? Mala, concept is that. This is how the principle works. Practices and all differ from generation to generation. Practices will differ from generation to generation, place to place, depending on the level of your inner maturity. Depending on the level of your inner maturity, it changes. So what is the purpose? The purpose is to make you remember the divine tapas. Some tapas has to be done. What is tapas? You feel thirsty, you need not immediately drink. No, wait for 10 minutes. Nothing will happen. That is tapas. You are hungry, you straight away, you don't have to plan your meals for the next 30 days and store it in the fridge. Isn't it? That is tapas. So all this, what is the purpose behind all this? To inculcate tapas. For a person who is doing tapas already, these things doesn't matter. If you are not doing tapas, use these as a stepping stone to do some tapas. The purpose is what? To remember divine. The purpose is what? To make you do tapas. And if you have to make you to do tapas, you have to tempt that person. No. What is the temptation? Because mind will yield only when temptation happens. What is the temptation? See, normally if you do chanting, 100 times benefit you get. And on eclipse time you sit and chant, you get 100 crores. Wow. Temptation. At least remember that. Is it okay, Mala? Yeah. With this we conclude for today.